Go ahead.
Welcome to a regularly scheduled council meeting for the 7th or 12th of July, 2022. Let me call the meeting order together.
We can't hear you, John. Looks like everyone.
I should put the microphone on. All right. Okay. I'd like to call the meeting together for the 12th of July, 2022 at 5:04 p.m. Can I get all councilors to refresh your agendas, as there was some changes. They were just a changing of the order. Okay, we'll move on. Adoption of the agenda. Resolve that council adopt the agenda as amended with the addition of the following items. Adoption of minutes, 4.2 draft, July 8th, 2022 special council meeting minutes. Correspondence for action, item 8.1 Stars Gala, September 8th, 2022 in Winnipeg. And under new business, 11.6 gravel supply. Item 11.7, special meeting request. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Pohl, seconded by Councillor Hunt. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
That is carried. Thank you. We'll move on to item 3, planning and related bylaw. Resolve that bylaw amendment number 4375 begin first reading. Resolve the council give first reading to zoning bylaw amendment number 4375 as presented. Can I have a mover, please?
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Pohl, seconded by Councillor Garvey. Any discussion? Councillor Pohl or Garvey?
I think we all, there may have been an email to the CAO, I'm not sure, but there was a resident who wanted to speak to the, why is it so distorted?
Not too sure.
Okay. Is that better?
Yes, try again.
Okay, I haven't done anything wrong. And now I'm talking again.
You can talk further away from your microphone.
Okay. I'm actually not operating anything differently than I always do, so I don't know why it's distorted. Anywho, I'll speak quietly. The River Road application that we're seeing today, the person would like it to be last on the agenda if possible.
Okay, that's a different item, and it comes a little further down the order anyway. It is River Road. It is the second last one, or third last one, pardon me.
Right, so the request is that it could be as late as possible in the meeting.
Yeah, we'll try and accommodate that, but we'll see how far we get. Okay, thank you. We've got a zoning bylaw amendment on the table. We've got a moved and second. Any further discussion? Councillor Hunt?
No, I'm just ready to.
I just have,
Go ahead, Madam Mayor.
yes, I just have a quick question. I know this is for first reading, but if we're doing first reading now, I see it's one of the conditions, the subdivision application is later down.
Yeah, there is a subdivision further down with this, but maybe the planner can speak to this, that you wanted to do the amendment first. Well, we have to talk only about the bylaw amendment first, to give it first reading.
Yeah, I can talk about the first.
Okay, you want to quickly speak to the first reading? Go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, Council. If you can just allow me to share my screen. I have it in a presentation.
Oh, it is that, but that is to do with the subdivision that is coming.
No, even the first reading.
Just give it first reading?
Yeah,
Okay,
just a quick.
okay,
through.
go ahead.
This is zoning bylaw amendment application BL 4375. The subject property is located at 28 Ednora Road. The applicant wishes to rezone the property from the agriculture general to seasonal residential zone. This is the location map identifying the subject property and illustrating the surrounding area. As you can see, the property gains access from Ednora Road. All the surrounding parcels are considerably smaller than the 80-acre requirement in the A80 zone. As stated earlier, the applicant wishes to rezone to seasonal residential zone. The subject properties are designated as resort in the Red River Planning Development Plan, and that intends to provide variety of development. Red River Planning notes that there is a subdivision application by the applicant on the same property. The rezoning is intended to support this subdivision. Red River Planning recommends that first reading be given to this bylaw to allow further research, analysis, and triggering a public hearing process. Thank you. If the council has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Madam Mayor, has that cleared up some of your questions?
No, so it's to start the public hearing process. Thank you for the explanation. So there won't be a further public hearing on the subdivision then? Just a public hearing on the rezone?
No, there's a public hearing for the rezone for the subdivision as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Direct questions directed to the planner.
Yes, ma'am, the public hearing is for the subdivision today, but if the subdivision gets approved, one of the conditions of approval is to get the rezoning done. And then the public hearing for rezoning would come at a later stage.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Councillor Hunt?
Yeah, and I just like council to note that this land has been redesignated in the development plan that was passed in 2019. So normally the municipality and the planning board would get together and rezone any lands that were designated within the new development plan. But I believe the applicant just wants to speed things up because I'm not too sure when that'll take place. I don't know how many designate changes there was in the development plan when it was redone. So this is just this is in the development plan of changing that land from A80 to SR. So it's just speeding up the process. That's all this is doing.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Okay, that brings us to item 3.2, to open the public hearings. Be it resolved that council hereby open the public hearings for the following planning application schedule for July the 12th, 2022 at 5 p.m. Conditional use number 10-2022, variation order number 63-2022, variation order number 69-2022, subdivision application number S222948, subdivision application number S222956, subdivision application number S222961. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Poles, seconded by Madam Mayor. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Okay, we'll start with conditional use application, conditional use number 10-2022, 5442 Highway 9. Mr. Planner, please proceed.
Thank you, sir. This is conditional use application CU 10-2022. The subject property is located at 5442 Highway 9. The applicant wishes to allow for a home industry to operate on the subject property in the rural residential zone. This is the conditional use request table. The applicant wishes to produce and ship herb grinders in the existing 1344 square feet accessory building on the property. This is the location map identifying the subject property and illustrating the surrounding area. As you can see, the property gains access from Highway 9. Surrounding areas are mostly single-family residential developments. This is the site plan provided by the applicant. The subject property is about 10.18 acres and is developed with a single family dwelling with attached garage and a large accessory building. Red River Planning circulated the application to various provincial agencies and departments. We did not receive any objections on the proposal. If the council wishes to approve this application, Red River Planning recommends 4 conditions. Number 1, this approval is limited to scope of home industry use fabrication as presented in this application. Any changes in use may require new conditional use approval. Number 2, the applicant owner obtains all the required permits from the Red River Planning District. Number 3, the applicant owner complies with all requirements within section 3.16 home industries as outlined in the RM of St. Andrews zoning bylaw. And number 4, the applicant owner obtains an annual business license from the RM of St. Andrews. Thank you. If the council has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Planner. Does council have any questions of the planner? I don't see or hear any, so then we'll move on to the applicant, Mr. Greg Montetta. Would you wish to speak to your application? Please proceed.
Hi, yeah, I guess it's pretty basic. I would just like to operate a home business or a home industry from my property. I haven't been at a council meeting in a while, so I'm not really sure of the procedure here. Is there
Well,
anything?
just speak to your application, what you're planning on doing and what what the purpose is.
Okay, yeah, so I brought a sample of the product we make. It's just a herb grinder, and we have some outsourced manufacturers that we bring some parts in, and basically we'd be assembling and doing some in-house work to finish off the product. And we're a low volume, sort of high quality product, so it's wouldn't really have much of an impact as far as traffic. We'd have say Canada Post pick up our product, our shipments once a day. We do all of our sales online. We have no foot traffic, and that's probably about it.
Okay, thank you. Council, do you have any questions for the applicant? Councilor Prychin?
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm it's for production, manufacturing purpose and not for retail.
That's correct.
Thanks.
Any further questions for the applicant? I don't see or hear any, so thank you very much for your application, and we
Thank you.
will decide further on into the agenda.
Thanks.
Okay, there are also with that application, there were 3 letters of in favor of this conditional use, and they are in your packages. Okay, we'll move on to variation order number 63-2022 for Alecks Point. Mr. Planner, please proceed.
Thank you. This is variance application VO 63-2022. The subject property is located at 4 Alecks Point. The applicant wishes to allow for an increased height of an accessory building in the rural residential zone. This is the variance request table. The applicant wishes to increase the height from the permitted 15 feet to proposed 16.7 feet. This is the location map identifying the subject property and illustrating the surrounding areas. The property fronts Alecks Place and the surrounding properties are mostly residential developments. This is the site plan provided by the applicant that marks the location of the proposed garage, which is about 1,200 square feet, and the existing dwelling. The application was circulated to various departments and the RM, and we did not receive any objections on the proposal. If the council wishes to approve this application, we recommend 3 conditions. Number 1, this variance is limited to a mean height of 16.7 feet as presented in this variance application and submitted site plan. Any changes in use, replacement, or further additions may require new variance approval. Number 2, the applicant owner must obtain all required permits from the Red River Planning District. Number 3, the proposed accessory is to be used for personal use only. Thank you. If the council has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. Council, do you have any questions? Madam Mayor?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Singh, our map that we have in our package, like it doesn't even have the existing dwelling on it. Is the garage going right along that tree line? Because there's a bunch of like green grass in the front, right closer to the road.
Answer to that question.
Madam Mayor, that when the applicant comes forward, maybe you can ask him the question because he'll know. Okay. Any further questions for the planner from council? Hearing and seeing none, thank you. I'd like to ask the applicant to come forward to speak to his application.
Hi there. You had a question, I guess, regarding the location of that garage shop. On the little site plan, there is a drawing of the existing house. If you look a little bit closer, I don't know if they can bring it on the screen there, but I believe it's about 50 feet back from the house. You see where it says existing, that's existing home. So it's directly behind the home by 50 feet.
Madam Mayor, does that answer your question?
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
See, unfortunately, the map we got is all green. There's not even your picture of your house on there. I know exactly where your house is located. So that it's along that tree line then in the front.
Yeah, I don't know that. I don't think there's a tree line there.
Well, it shows on our package more like it doesn't look like grass. It looks like shrubbery across.
Oh yeah, that's just a little hill on the yard. That's I guess would be on the southwest side of that green berm.
Okay, okay, that's good. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, would you like to speak to your application for or just take questions?
It's pretty straightforward. Just want to build a little higher just for the aesthetics of the existing building, right? Slant roof, so.
Councilor Paul, you have a question?
No, not a question. Just wanted to refer to Mayor Sold. I think three pages after the map that you see with the picture, there's an actual site plan and it shows the existing building. It's in our package.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Paul. Is there any more questions for the applicant? Mr. Singh, can I have my screen back, please? There, thank you. Is there any further questions for the applicant? Hearing and seeing none, thank you, and move on. Thank you for your application. Okay, we will move on to variation order number 69-2022, 10 Deer Rapids Drive. Mr. Singh, please proceed.
Thank you. This is variance application VO 69-2022. The subject property is located at 10 Deer Rapids. The applicant has applied for 4 variances for a proposed accessory structure, which is about 180 square feet in the rural residential zone. This is the variance request table. The applicant wishes to increase the combined floor area of all accessories from the required 1,200 square feet to 1,208 square feet to reduce the front yard setback of the proposed garage from the required 75 to 30 feet, to increase the mean height from the required 15 feet to 24 feet, and to reduce the front yard of the existing shed from 75 feet to 51 feet. This is the location map identifying the subject property and illustrating the surrounding areas. As you can see, the property is at the intersection of Walter and Deer Rapids. This is the site plan provided by the applicant that marks the location of the proposed garage and the house and 128 square feet shed. This application was circulated to various different departments of the RM and the provincial agencies, and we did not receive any objections on the proposal. Should the council approve this variance, we recommend 3 conditions. Number 1, this variance is limited to a total combined floor area of 1,208 square feet max for all accessory buildings, a mean building height of 24 feet for the proposed accessory structure, a front yard setback of 30 feet for the proposed accessory building and a front yard setback of 51 feet for the existing 128 square feet shed as presented in this application and submitted site plan. Any changes in use, replacement, or further additions may require new variance approval. Number 2, the applicant owner obtains all the required permits from Red River Planning District. Number 3, the proposed accessory building is to be used for personal use only. Thank you. If the council has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. Council, do you have any questions for the planner? No questions? Then I'll ask the applicant, John Stanko, to come forward and speak to his application.
Council, my name is John Stanko. I'm one of the residents here at 10 Deer Rapids Drive. I'm just looking to put a separate detached garage on my property, just for more junk. I'm restoring a car and just need the space. I've always wanted to have a garage, so I'm looking at having just a storage space. So that's where the height. I want to have be able to have just like a lift so I can store cars. So that's for the height. And I'm looking for like a 10-12 pitch, and that'll be a little bit of storage to store more junk upstairs. That's it. And it'll be in the same continuity as my property. It'll be all stuccoed cultured stone.
Okay, thank you. Council, do you have any questions for the applicant? I don't see any, so thank you very much
Thank
for
you,
your
sir.
application. We will consider it shortly. Okay, subdivision application number S222948. There's an attachment there, withdrawal was request. Further to our discussion yesterday, I would like to withdraw my application for subdivision of Lot 3 Plans 68371. Please forward my request to the Council of the RM of St. Andrews. Thank you. That was Mr. Ruana. So that subdivision was withdrawn. Subdivision application number S222956 1029 River Road. Mr. Singh, if you could please proceed. Sorry, go ahead, Councilor Paul.
Sorry to interrupt. Is this the one that that resident had requested to be pushed back if possible? Is that something that we can do?
We have only one after this one. We can flip the order, but the other one won't take that much longer either. But we can try that.
I would suggest to do that just in case.
Is council okay with flipping the order of the subdivisions? To make that happen? All right, then we will do that. So we are going to subdivision application number S222961 Lot 2 Plan 40870. Mr. Singh, if you could please proceed on that subdivision.
Thank you, sir. This is subdivision application S222961. The subject property is located at 28 Ednora Road. The applicant wishes to subdivide the title into 4 lots ranging from 1.08 acres to 4.5 acres. This is the zoning requirements table. The proposed lot do not meet the 80 acre area requirement in the current A80 zone. The applicant is also proposing to add 0.22 acres to the existing title on the south of the property. The applicant has applied for a rezoning bylaw 4375, which was given the first reading at the beginning of the meeting. This is the location map. The property gains access from Ednora Road. There are more small lots in the area which do not meet the 80 acre requirement in the A80 zone. This is the subdivision application map provided by the applicant. As you can see, the applicant is proposing 3 lots of 1.08 acres and separating the 4.5 acre of the existing single family dwelling. The proposed boundary alignment has also been marked on the map right here. The application is generally consistent with the policies under resort designation that promote residential development. As stated earlier, the proposed lots are not in compliance even with the SR zone. Additional variances would be required to bring the lots into compliance. The property abuts Muckles Creek, therefore east Interlake Watershed District is not in favor of any development within 100 meters of the waterway. In addition, Historic Resources Branch has expressed some concerns about the area. The department is requesting a heritage resource impact assessment to be conducted prior to any development. Should the council wish to approve this application, Red River Planning recommends 8 conditions that are mentioned in section 10 of the report. If the council has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. Council, do you have any questions for the planner? Councillor Hunt?
I guess just a comment as usual, you know, even though it's zone A80, agricultural has no concerns because it is in the development plan designation plans. So all the applicant will be doing, it will be expediting it with the zoning changes that will be coming with the public hearing for second and third reading. So thank you.
Any further comments, questions for the planner? If not, I'd like to ask the applicant to come forward to speak to his application.
Good evening, Dennis Palmer here. I just wanted to point out that my neighbors that live around me here, Bruce Snowgren, lives to the north at 32 Ednor Road. We sold him 2 acres a lot 20 years ago. We have a verbal agreement that I'll be selling him any property if I do ever move. So he's not in opposition to it. Neighbor Braden and Nicola Enerson to the east at across from us at 31 Ednor Road. They have no issues with the subdivision. And the neighbors Andrew and Heather are now south at 22 Ednor Road. They have entered into the subdivision proposal with us, and we're selling them 0.2 acres or 25 feet of bush beside them to extend their lots so that they have bush between them and the first lot. Neighbors Kaz or Adam Smolinski, I'm not sure, owns it, subdivided their property across the road from us years back. And now Braden and Nicola Enerson built a house 2 years ago across from us, and they're now our new neighbors. The planning board is recommending approval with the conditions met. You've already brought up that the planning board is in the process of changing from SR to A, land to SR from A80 already, so that was brought up. And that's about it, I guess.
Thank you, Dennis. Does council have any questions for the applicant? I don't see, Madam Mayor, did you have a question? Please proceed.
Yes, because these are small lots, applicant order to dedicate 30 meters buffer along Muckles Creek. So then how deep are the lots? Like, what is the space between the road and the creek?
She wants to know what's the distance between the road and the creek.
Oh, okay. The lots are very deep. They range from about 450 some feet to around 350, I think. So they vary in size because of the curvature of the creek. So they're quite deep.
Okay, thank you. Because if the buffer is 30 meters, I just wanted to know, it doesn't show how deep they would be. That's good. Thank you.
Mr. Singh?
I can show this on my screen if it helps.
Okay, so it shows 155 meters.
Right, this is 155 meters.
Okay.
So the 30 meter mark would be somewhere here.
Okay. Does that help with clarity, council?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Singh, can I move the screen back? Okay, is there any further questions for the applicant? I don't see any. I have 3 other people that show that they are in support. Marilyn Palmer, Mike and Colleen Gibson. Would any of you like to speak to the application? Okay. Thank you, Dennis. Okay, let's go backwards to the one that we had skipped over. And that is application number S-22-2956. 1029 River Road. Mr. Planner, if you could please proceed.
This is subdivision application S-22-2956. The subject property is located at 1029 River Road. The applicant wishes to subdivide the title into one lot of 1.32 acres, leaving a residual lot of 1.68 acres in the rural residential zone. This is the rezoning requirements table. The proposed lot do not meet the 1.38 acre requirement in the RR zone. The residual lot, however, is in compliance. This is the location map. The property gains access from the River Road, and there is a single family development in the surrounding areas. This is the subdivision application map provided by the applicant. The proposed lot 1 has an existing single family dwelling. The applicant is proposing the subdivision along Johnson Drain. The application is generally consistent with the policies under general development designation that promote residential developments. As stated earlier, the proposed lot meet about 96% of the area requirements. Additional variances will be required to bring the lot into compliance. Red River Planning notes that the property abuts Red River. Therefore, East Interlake Watershed District is not in favor of any development within 100 meters of the waterway. In addition, Historic Resources Branch has expressed some concerns about the area. The department is requesting a heritage resource impact assessment to be conducted prior to any development. Red River Planning also notes that a couple of people have objected to this application. The objections have been included in the docket for council's consideration. If the council wish to approve this application, Red River Planning recommends 8 conditions mentioned in section 10 of the report. Thank you. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Planner. Council, do you have any questions for the planner? I would like to, how deep is that lot? And it's separated by a physical, like the Johnson Drain, correct?
Yeah.
Is that where the boundary is?
Yeah.
How deep is that lot?
I can measure it.
464 on the one side from the road to the river.
From the road to the river?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a little less on the Johnson, but I'm not sure exactly.
That's the short side.
That's the
Okay.
short side.
All right, that answers my question. Is there any more comments or questions for the planner? Hearing and seeing none, I'd like to ask Michael Haddad, 1029 River Road, to speak to his application.
We just,
Can you please state your names for the record before you proceed?
Michael Haddad and Brenda Cart.
Okay, please proceed.
After we found out that there was an objection, we canvassed a few of the neighbors directly across from where the proposed lot is. And they all agreed that it was fine with them.
Okay.
Had no objections there.
I was hoping to address, it's Brenda Cardinal. I was hoping to address the shortage. The requirement is 1.38 and we have 1.32. But the surveyor said that we can move that. So we wouldn't require a variance. We'll just give you whatever you need to make the 1.38. Because it's just a matter of inches, really. So I could make that adjustment through him and he would submit the paperwork. I had a question about one of the requirements for the subdivision is granting an easement to the municipality for that Johnson waterway. I just wondered if there was any plans for improvement or repair in that waterway, simply because I'd like to put, if there's a approval, I'd like to put a fence up. So I thought I would wait till, if you were doing anything, I would wait for that.
Go, Councillor Hunt.
I don't recollect anything on the books for it. I think it's just for future maintenance, you know, because as always happens, 10 years down the road, whatever they need is maintenance with branches or debris in it. So then we have the right to go on it and clean those areas out. So,
okay.
But there's nothing planned right now as of I know.
Okay. And another thing, another requirement is, because we're less than 2 acres, we would have to decommission our septic field and have a septic holding tank. But there's been much talk about water coming from Selkirk. So I was sort of wondering about the timing of that. I would hate to spend the 20,000 to put a new holding tank in and then 6 months later have water come through. Do we have any idea?
Lisa, can you speak to that at all?
Sewer, sorry.
I guess I have 2 comments. One of them is regarding the easement as well. It is just for maintenance. You're correct, Councillor. And, but you couldn't put a fence within that easement, just so you're aware of that?
No, it would have
Okay.
to be on our property after the easement.
Correct,
allotment.
correct. There's no immediate scheduled sewer, and the requirement for the septic field is through conservation, and they would require a decommissioning. So we don't have any short-term plans to provide sewer to that area.
Okay, thank you.
Anything further from the applicants?
No, that's good.
Council, do you have any questions for the applicants? Councillor Garvey.
I don't know if this question is so much for the applicant, perhaps for the planner, but if what I'm hearing is that they plan on, pardon me, rejigging the lot lines in order to satisfy zoning and that sort of thing, should they withdraw this application and do that and then submit a new application? Because if what they're going to do doesn't require variation, then I'm just curious why we'd proceed here.
Yeah, thank you for the question, sir. The council can table if for a month or do a hearing next month. Because it's a minor amendment, you won't need to withdraw and resubmit. You can just do a minor amendment with the revised SAM.
Okay, Councillor Garvey.
Well, might I suggest then, if the applicant is willing, that we table this for them to have a month to decide how they wish to proceed?
Councillor Hunt.
But Mr. Planner, is that with a minor adjustment, like, so right now, with the way it stands with the lot lines, the variance is required. But if they move it to give that 1.38, that a variance is not required.
That is correct.
But that's not changing the intent of the subdivision by
No.
changing that lot line.
Not to a much extent.
Right.
It's a small amendment.
So tabling it is of no benefit, really?
Like we have to remove that condition if we get a revised SAM.
Okay. So it would read then, depending if the lot lines are changed and then the residual lot doesn't meet 1.38, then a variance is not required.
That's correct.
So it could read variances if required.
Or we can do that, yes.
Yeah, that's usually what we put in, variances if required, so.
Okay.
Tabling might also solve or provide them with an opportunity to talk to some of the other neighbors to maybe resolve some of the concerns.
It's it, yeah, I guess if we do table it, it would do that, but as Councillor or the supplanner has said that, you know, it's a minor change, doesn't require tabling. Madam Mayor.
Yes, thank you. Councillor Hunt addressed a lot of my my comments. And if it's just a matter of inches, we've had them before that we've never had to table an application. Because Mr. Planner, don't you even have just the in-house variance up to 10%?
Those are without the subdivisions though. Like if you
Oh.
just need a variance for something else that is not part of a subdivision, then you can do the in-house variance.
Okay, thank you. No, I agree with Counselor Hunt. I don't see any reason to table this.
Any further discussion? From Counselor Hunt?
I guess, did the applicant want to table it to talk to any of the objectors, or that's not an issue?
No, it's not an issue. I'd
Okay.
rather not table it if that's possible.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there anything further other than there in their package, there was a Chris Sutherland who opposed, or is Chris Sutherland here to speak as opposed? I don't see him, so we will move on. Okay, we've come to the end of our public hearing. Counselor Hunt.
There was another letter of objection there as well.
There was yeah, you're correct. There was one from Dr. Bruce Reichman, 1045. He opposed, and there was the second one, Chris Sutherland. Okay.
Is Mr. Eichmann in attendance to speak to his opposition?
No, he's not here. Oh, there he is. Okay, Mr. Reichman, would you like to speak in opposition?
Thank you very much. I am my wife and I own the property directly to the north of the proposed subdivision. We have lived there for very close to 50 years. We bought that property and we built our house there because it is a beautiful, quiet, rural area. My objections, and this, we share a 460 foot lot line with the proposed subdivision, and we will be profoundly affected by a change there. The application says that there is no intent at this time to develop, but I think it's pretty naive to think that they're subdividing and they're not going to have something else sold off there. I object to this on basically 3 counts. One that you've already addressed, and that is the lot size. The lot size in the area zoned RR, rural residential, is a minimum lot size. It's not a recommended lot size, and it does not meet that standard, and it should be denied on that basis alone. The second is environmental issues. This is basically undeveloped property. I don't think that there's anything that has changed on the inside of that property, certainly in the time that we've lived next door to it. There's a small area of grass near the river road. The rest of it is basically bush, mature trees. It's a long riverbank. Construction of any house or property close to the river is going to have a very profound effect on my yard. And the third thing is traffic issues. You showed a picture, perhaps you could go back to that, of the, I think it was probably from Google Maps. There's a very, very sharp turn right at the end of my property. There will have to, if any development is going to have a driveway access onto the river road. And there, see that big bump at the top there? I don't know how many people I've seen go off that turn. There are, I think in my letter or my email to the councilors, I said there was 9 driveways. Actually, I recounted and there's 10 driveways. within a couple of 100 feet of that very tight turn. People are always going off that. And another driveway is just going to make the traffic even worse. So I think that this should be, that there should also be a proper geotechnical assessment of that property. There's a waterway that runs through it. There's a riverbank. The neighbors to the south of the proposed subdivision have already had problems with their stabilization of the riverbank. Just to the north of us, the municipality about 50 years ago put in 4 or 5 large piles to stabilize the river road, which was slipping away into the Red River. And this is potentially a serious environmental issue. And it requires a geotechnical assessment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ekman. Is there any questions for Mr. Ekman? Counselor Hunt.
Just a comment that there is a geotech report is required with any development on the land. Prior to anything going on that land, the geotechnical report is required. So, which will address soil sampling and whatever. So that is required as part of as a building permit.
And the recommended distance from the river is for a dwelling is what?
30 meters,
30 meters.
100 feet.
100 feet.
Okay, is there anything further for Mr. Ekman? Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Chair,
Oh, sorry, Madam Mayor.
just one more question, Mr. Reichman. I don't know why that. Right at the sharp corner, there, just to confirm, I'm familiar, I just need a bit of a refresh here. There is your driveway, that's on the straight part next to the applicant's property, because then there's only 2 driveways on that side, on the river side, on the east side, correct?
I'm not sure what part of the road you're talking about. There's 2 turns. There's a turn away from the river by my driveway, and then it runs along my property, and the sharp turn at the top of that map is the bad turn.
Yes, I'm familiar with that.
And within a couple of 100 feet of that bad turn, there are 10 driveways.
But on the west side of River Road.
No, a couple of them are right at that turn, just before you get to the turn. There's Belanger's property. Sutherland's property is right at the turn. And then you get to Christian Augst, Helmut Augst, and then you're down onto the straighter part, going more toward the Haddad's property, the Haddad's driveway. There are 10 driveways between that red line and the beginning of the turn.
Okay, I guess, thank you. What I'm saying, but they're mainly on the west side. They're not on the river side, like on your side, like your driveway. Is it at the top of the the top of that turn, or next to the applicant's property, closer to the applicant's property?
Well, I have a driveway at the back of my property. The other driveways come in from the west. They enter the river road from the west. My back driveway enters from the east.
Okay,
So there are
so
10.
you have two driveways.
Yes.
Okay,
Anything further, Madam Mayor?
no. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Reichman.
Thank you.
Okay, that's brings us to the end of our list of conditional uses, variations, and subdivisions. Be it resolved, the council hereby close the public hearings for July 12th, 2022, planning applications and accept the withdrawal of application S22-2948. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Counselor Hunt, second by Counselor Poole. All in favor? That is carried. Okay. Resolution for decision for conditional use number 10-2022. Whereas the applicant owner of tax roll number 26400 has made application for conditional use number 10-2022 for the premises described as River Lot 55-AD Plan 3404-5442 Highway 9. Now therefore be resolved that the conditional use number 10-2022 be hereby approved by council with the conditions that were read out by the planner. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Poole, seconded by Madam Mayor. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Resolution of decision for variation number 63-2022. Whereas applicant owner of tax roll number 12956 has made application for variation order number 63-2022 for the premise described as Lot 4, Plan 53374 for Alecks Point. Now therefore be resolved that that variation order number 63-2022 be hereby approved by council with the following conditions that were read by the planner. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Poole, seconder. Councillor Hunt seconds. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Resolution for decision for variation order number 69-2022. Whereas the applicant owner of tax roll number 27810 has made application for variation order number 69-2022 for the premises described as Lot 1, Block 2, Plan 37261, 10 Deer Rapids Drive. Now therefore be resolved that variation order number 69-2022 be hereby approved by council with the following conditions that were read by the planner. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Deputy Mayor Hobie, seconded by Councillor Poole. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Resolution for decision for subdivision application number S222956. Resolve that the proposed subdivision be hereby approved by council with the following conditions. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Hunt, seconder. Madam Mayor seconds. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, I had a question.
Yes, sorry. Go ahead, Councillor Garvey.
I just wanted to clarify that the condition is in place that the applicant will be revising the lot lines.
Okay, Mr. Singh? You can write that into the application?
Yeah.
Councillor Hunt?
Like I said, variation order or variation will be if required. So, because whatever the lot lines they tell you, then that'll be required, right? Okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Those opposed? That is carried. You have it in there? Can you read it? Can you read it, please?
For council, I just For council, I just changed condition number 3 to read, if required, applicant owner obtain a variance to vary the area requirements of proposed lot 1. Please note applicant to verify site areas, dimensions, or have this information submitted by the applicant's Manitoba land surveyor.
Thank you, Colleen. Resolution for subdivision application S222961. Resolve that the proposed subdivision number S222961 be hereby approved by council with the following conditions that were read by the planner. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Hunt, seconder. Councillor Paul seconds. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to the adoption of the minutes. Does everybody want a 5-minute break or are we ready to keep moving? 5-minute break, everyone.
Excuse me, while we're on the break, can Playtick or something, I notice when I'm talking, it's just shooting back in my ear. All of us on the Zoom, there's something wrong here. That's never happened before.
This is not perfect for sure, Joy, but we're gonna have to, we tried before the meeting to get it to work better and still Tim is running around here trying to get it working and it's not working.
This is why, we need a new
this.
council chamber.
And John, if you speak really close to the mic, for me, it's like just blows the eardrums out. It is so loud.
Yeah.
If you lean back,
I've been told to just to stay back just a little bit, so. Okay. Yes, just pause it for a minute. Okay, welcome back. Before we move on, council, would it be possible to move item 11.5 to the next item on the agenda? Lisa is here and that is her last item. Otherwise, she'll be sitting here for the next while and just having to wait. So with council's permission, we would move that up as the next item. Is council okay? Thumbs up?
I agree.
Okay, good. Thank you, council, and Lisa, if you want to proceed, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I could share my screen, please. Oops. You should be able to share. Want me to come and give you a hand?
Please bear with us. We're having technical difficulties again. Is it gonna work, Lisa?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's fine. Seems to be the theme here the last month, technical difficulties. Just
That was first.
Okay, my. There we go. I will.
Is the microphone on your computer?
Future,
It is. Is that better?
There we go.
Got it. Okay, thank you, council. Sorry for that. So this was a project that was brought forward in April to council just for a kind of a review of updating the council chambers and purchasing some new furniture and possibly extending the council chambers into the boardroom. So this is the original same color palette that was provided before. We'd be moving towards more of a U-shaped desk that doesn't take up so much room. So we have more room for support staff, for the gallery, for public space, and as well for the just to provide some distancing if needed for COVID and just the way in the future, how people are using gathering spaces. So I wanted to just bring forward that the council chambers right now is 35 by 23 feet, and we would be proposing to potentially extend it to 50 feet by 23 feet. This is the same image as what was presented before originally, that we'd be removing the large screens and putting in more updated electronic monitors and have it so that it can be viewed from all directions. So we did two proposals. One of them is Plan A, which is keeping the room as it is. And it's basically just an updating of the furniture, painting, wall coverings, and electronics. This is a image of what that would look like, the current boardroom in the rear. I just want to also comment that these images are not the actual furniture that would be purchased or used. It's just the best that we can utilize kind of as space savers until picking real actual furniture from stores, but it's the sizes and the scale are correct. So this is the same council chamber size. We're just making it would be a U-shaped table, not an oval like that. And it would allow for the support staff, CAO, the media equipment required, and any other support staff to have kind of dedicated space that they can use. The gallery size would stay approximately as it is right now. The next image is just a kind of a more of a bird's eye view of a 3D of what it would look like. Next image is the same image, just from a different angle. So you get a sense of where staff would be and the scale and distancing. The next is the extended room. This includes the same carpet, flooring, or pardon me, carpet, window coverings, paint, all those things, but it also would be the removal of the wall in between the two rooms. And this would now bring a 50-foot by 23-foot wide room. So as you can see, there's a lot more space. We have room for a larger gallery. It provides access to the kitchen area where we would look at putting in a wall to close that off when it's not in use. It also has the dedicated space for CAO, the video equipment, and the support staff as well in a lot larger, more comfortable space. The other thing with this is that it now becomes more of a multifunction room. We no longer need the boardroom in the back, as this can have a dual function as a boardroom. It also gives a lot of space that, since it's a U-shaped area, that we can extend tables onto the end of it and create a lot larger meeting space, meeting room for hosting, room for delegations. So it really becomes a multi-function space that's going to be used a lot more often than just council meetings. This is, again, just a different 3D view of it. It also, the little circle in the left-hand corner shows kind of the closing off of the kitchen when it's not in use. And again, this is just another perspective of it that just kind of shows the layout. So some of the benefits of the expanded room, as I already said, it just becomes a lot more multifunctional. There's dedicated space for the support staff. And again, we're not losing any functions by doing this of either of the rooms. And this is a renovation that we anticipate will take the RM into, will last for 30 years. The other is the estimated costs, the Plan A, with just the updating of kind of the design of the flooring and the paint and wall coverings, all those things would be a total. The construction materials would be $30,000. There's furniture, video equipment, and consulting. Those are pretty much fixed fees. It's really the construction and the materials that have the bigger difference. And those would go out for tender. Okay. So, sorry, is there a question?
I can't see. Can we finish the presentation off, and then we'll have all sorts of questions, okay?
Okay. So again, the furniture, video equipment, and consulting are, for the most part, fixed fees. The change in the furniture is a slight change just because of the larger gallery size. So we would anticipating having more chairs. The construction and materials is the difference, and that's for the removal of the wall that then all of a sudden facilitates the ceiling needs to be redone, and some other items as well. So the fixed costs, we're asking for approval now to order furniture, and that's dependent on if either of the plans are approved. The construction materials would go out for a tender. The tender would come back to council to review those tenders and decide if they choose or wish to choose one of those tenders when they're received back. And then the totals for the Plan A, or the estimated totals for Plan A and Plan B. And that's it.
Okay, can I have the screen back, please? Okay, there we go. Okay, I think what we'll do is everybody gets a chance to weigh in here. And so, Kristen, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks, Lisa. That was very, very good, actually, and great pictures. And it gives you a really good visual when you have that 3D imagery. So I do have a couple questions, and I'm hoping you can answer. One of the things that I do remember when we were in council chambers, and I'm sure the people that are there today are experiencing this, is we have I don't know what the deal was, but it was the loudest HVAC system I've ever heard in my life. So you could be talking and then all of a sudden it would click in and I literally couldn't hear like if Counselor Hunt was talking across the room, like I really had to listen and I found it incredibly loud. So you did mention they'd be opening up the ceiling. So has that thought process come across at any point? Because I remember spectators would say they couldn't hear sometimes too.
We haven't had any specific discussions around what that could be, but I think once we have the renovation going, we certainly want to make sure that all of the electronics and feedback and echoing and anything that can mitigate that, those problems are resolved at the time that we're doing this update. And we have some dedicated funds to the videos and audio stuff as well.
Yeah, and I don't know, it could just be a little bit of more insulation of the ceiling, I don't know. So I remember, I guess last year, maybe the year before, I don't know, it all rolls together. We had spent some money to upgrade some of the electronics and the wiring and everything else. So is everything that we're looking at doing in Plan A or Plan B, and I'm talking more in the Plan B segment, is it all, and will it all be compatible to what we've already spent on some of the upgrades?
That would certainly be the intent. We're not looking to scrap everything and start from scratch. We would just upgrade. For the most parts, we're looking at the monitoring system to get rid of the old style screens, put up kind of TV monitors, things that, and everything would coordinate with a lot of the stuff that's being used right now.
Perfect. And do you know what the number for the increase of spectators would be allowed if we went to Plan B?
I do have that somewhere. I think the original was 15 to 20 is kind of where we are right now. Yeah, 15 to 20. The new plan, I believe, goes, 25 to 30.
Yeah, that's pretty significant. Yeah, because that's one thing I always found it very small in there. And the last point, and then I'll make a quick comment, but the last point is there any concessions or any thought process to windows, particularly on the, I think it's the south side behind Mr. Counselor Hunt's, that would be south, right? Is there any concessions for, I always found it very dark in there. So I'm just wondering if we've thought about that, or, you know, if that's just part of if that was part of the plan at any time.
It hadn't been. There's significant windows here. There's lots and lots of windows. We would be removing that wall, which also has extra windows, especially a large one in the existing boardroom. So that will open it up as well. But we could potentially look at increasing lighting as well if.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And so my comment then is, after all those questions, and thank you for answering them, is it's always a tough decision because obviously it's a large amount of money. However, I do see value in it. I always found our boardroom compared to other RMs particularly small, considering we have such a massive space in our community. And when there was something that, a planning meeting or whatever, there's often people who would have to wait outside. So I would see the value certainly in increasing the allowable spectator and the screens as well, because of the screens that were behind the spectators. I always found that was a little bit uncomfortable, and you were turning one way and looking the other and trying to listen to somebody. So and the other thing is, the longer we wait, as we all know, things just keep going up and up and up in cost. So sometimes you have to take the moment and grab it. So, okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, so before I let you go, Kristen, so you're leaning towards Plan B, enlarging the room? Okay, good. Counselor Hunt.
Thank you, and thank you, Lisa, for the presentation. Yes, I support Plan B. It asks everything we need. I would like to get this started soon. The people in the audience tonight had very hard time hearing, and this is going to, we struggle with this AV problems every meeting, and it's we get it done properly and good monitors and speakers. And it's always been talked about having administration behind the council rather than sitting at the council chambers or council table. It doubles our capacity. Plus, like I said, it's a 30-year investment. So You know, even if it's 90 to $100,000, that's $3,000 a year investment on this room that hasn't been changed since the building was built in about 1985. This addition was done. So I'd like to move forward with it soon as possible. We have a month to get prices and tenders and bring it back to council for the August meeting so it can be moved on and have ready for the new council in November. So that's my vote on it.
Okay, Councillor Hunt, you're leaning towards Plan B as well?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Who wants to go next? Councillor Garvey.
Yeah, I would, I think the presentation was excellent, and the renderings, I think, give a really good idea of, you know, how this could improve the space. So I'm in favor of Plan B as well. I think if for no other reason, and maybe it was all part of someone's master plan, but you know, all the feedback issues and that sort of thing that we experienced today, if for no other reason, updating this chamber in order to retrofit it, make it kind of, I won't say future-proof, but for lack of a better way of putting it, future-proof it. You know, the electronics that are in there very much predate the current era with Zoom and all that sort of thing, and you know, the multiple needs to connect. So I think it's a good idea, and I think it's money well spent.
Thank you, Russ. You're leaning towards Plan B as well? Okay, great. Matthew?
I don't know. I think I'm just making some notes and some prices and stuff. Like, a great presentation to have the information and gather all that stuff, but I think all the media and all the audio problems we're having, I think it's beyond embarrassing already that we've had 2 years to fix that problem. We've brought in a company to fix the problem, and it obviously hasn't fixed the problem. We've spent a pile of money on fixing audio, and we haven't fixed the audio. I think to throw $100,000 at a room, I don't know. I don't see the value there. That's just me personal. I'm in the business of renovating stuff, so I like to spend money and make things look pretty. But if we're going to add 10 chairs for the visitors and the residents to come there, I don't know. That back room, when we first got elected, we used that back room all the time. When there were separate committee meetings, there was always stuff going on in both rooms, and sometimes you couldn't get into both rooms. So now you're going to eliminate that boardroom completely, and there's nowhere for the council people to put their stuff. Everybody has mailboxes in the back and little meetings in the back and information in the back. Like, you're eliminating that completely. So, and in all the council meetings, I could say there was maybe 3 or 4 council meetings where there were more than 5 or 6 people in the audience. We got 13,000 people in this RM, and typically there's 5 people sitting there in those meetings. If there was something hot or exciting on the agenda, people showed up for the planning. They were there for 45 minutes. Everybody piled in, everybody piled out. The next 3 hours, there's just the council people sitting there and the 3 or 4 usual people. If you go to Selkirk's council chambers, I don't think it's been changed since 1900, and there's lots of them. Other than, you know, West St. Paul is looking at building a brand new facility and a brand new office. East St. Paul built a brand new facility. Springfield built a brand new facility. I don't know, like, I don't know. I'm on the fence. I'd love to see it cleaned up and painted in there and whatever else, but I don't like. Are we really going to gain? We're not gaining any width from left to right, right? All we're gaining is a length in the back. So all we're gaining basically is a couple desks in the back for administration, and you know, maybe we could change the tables and the chairs and make things smaller and tighter and spend the money on the audio and the visual and the stuff that, you know, I thought we already ordered and spent the money on that, right? So if we're going to just keep fine tuning what we've got there, then maybe we should do that. But I mean, if council wishes to support it and that's what they want to do and everybody's on board, well, I'm going to support whatever council decides to do. But I just, I don't know. I don't know if throwing $100,000 on it just to spruce it up is, I don't know. I'm completely on the fence, but I'm sorry, John, I can't, I don't know what to tell you.
Thank you, Matt. If we're going to go ahead with this, before we move on, Matt, what would you think, Plan A or Plan B? We have the upstairs too for we have another boardroom upstairs because that was rebuilt now.
Well, in my 3 and almost 4 years, council's never been upstairs, so I don't even know where that exists or what goes on up there. But or where we would go, but yeah, whatever council decides, I'll support whatever, but that's just my thoughts, that, like, not trying to be negative, but that's just my thoughts.
Thank you, Matt. Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. That was a great presentation. We spent, I believe it was around 20,000 not long ago for all this upgraded audio video. Councilor Parsons completely right. It's embarrassing. It's not working. Like, is there not a warranty or something under that? Because every meeting, we don't know what's going to happen, if it's going to work or not. We also just spent, I'm having a hard time with this because it cost us over 100,000 to upgrade the upstairs. That houses all the offices. There's a boardroom we never use or have seen. And also, I'm going to have a hard time supporting this. I mean, it could be painted. We definitely need the audio, but I thought that was the purpose. We spent that around $20,000 a couple of years to do that. I'm having a hard time supporting it, and also it'll fall into place. I'll have more to say under 11.6, the addition for the gravel supply with the money in the budget. So at this point, I don't, I'm having difficulty supporting Plan A or B. Thank you.
Thanks. Daryl.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation, Lisa. That was really good. I like Plan B. Don't get me wrong, I don't like spending money. I think we're slowly upgrading the entire building here, and due to its age, and I think we all know it. We've seen it. Got a couple of questions though. Are we upgrading the lights to LED lights as part of this?
Yeah, the ceiling will be done with the extended version. We hadn't priced for lights, but it just hadn't been contemplated. We kind of took this on after the original kind of design presentation had been done, and we didn't get that in depth with it, but it certainly could be looked at.
Okay, and then is there new speakers being included for the Plan B?
We haven't gotten that detailed.
Okay, because that's one thing I would say we definitely would need is the speakers in here are very low quality and they cause a lot of problems. But I do like the future plan for space B. I like that it can be used for public gatherings with the community or strategic meetings or even staff meetings. I think it's very spacious the way it's laid out. I think we can probably truncate it a little bit and add a lot more to the gallery if need be. I think the soundproofing concern that Deputy Mayor Hobie had can be fixed with a potential easy damper in the vent pipe, and I don't think that's an expensive fix at all. But I'm not a HVAC person, so I can't tell you that. But I would just guess that would be the case. And I just really like that it'd be a multifunctional use, that gives us that ability. So I agree with Plan B. I think I'd love to see it come in at a lot less money, but it is what it is. And I think that the longer we wait, the more expensive it's going to be. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Paul. Also, I agree with the Plan B to move forward, to make a bigger room, make it more spacious, better audio visual. I know that some of the equipment that we have here will be used in the renovation, so it's not all for nothing. I think Deputy Mayor Hobie talked about the windows being a little dark in here. Well, even with bigger windows, we would have to remove the trees. But I'm thinking that with the wall gone behind us, there's direct sunlight from the backside, which isn't shading the windows. So I think we would have better natural light in here, and that would be really nice because it is really dark in here. I think that the price difference between A and B is not that big. I mean, it doesn't matter what we do, it's going to cost us lots of money, but I really think that we have to improve the audio visual, and I think that's everybody's Achilles heel here lately. It's just been terrible, but hopefully we'll get past that, and hopefully by the time that that this is done, it will welcome the new council into new chambers and will be set to go for another 30 years. So those are my comments. Deputy Mayor Hobie and then Councillor Hunt.
Yeah, so with everybody who's had questions and opinions, I know Lisa's doing her best to navigate through all these queries. There's been quite a few now, though, that she had mentioned that weren't part of the quote, and she hadn't looked at that. So I just want to make sure that, for instance, Councillor Pohl is right. The lights, new lighting would be beneficial, and new speaker system. And if we haven't allotted those funds in, like I don't necessarily want to table this, but before I vote on something, I want to have something a little more accurate. And if we've missed a few things in this Plan B, such as the speakers, as Councillor Pohl mentioned, and the lighting, as Councillor Pohl mentioned, and the proper insulating of the ceiling because of the very loud HVAC, I don't, it's always really bad to go say, yeah, we're going to do B, but then when we add a couple of things, all of a sudden that quote, that tender comes back and it's 25,000 more. So I just want to make sure we cross all our T's and dot all our I's. If we're going to go with Plan B, let's do it right. Let's not break the bank, but let's cover some of those essentials like the speakers and the lights and the insulation in the ceiling to get it quieter in there so I can hear the people in the back and they can hear us.
Thank you. Councillor Hunt.
Yeah, I agree. That's part of the issue is to, or not the recommendation is to get this out for tender in the next month and have it back to council in August and have those as add-ons. LED lighting is a natural, as well as there's probably grants for LED lighting as well. As far as the additions that were done upstairs, we all know that, or if you don't know, that was for the EOC, which is a dedicated EOC now with phone lines, also audio visual up there. And that's where the EOC would be in case of any emergencies. And as well as for extra offices due to increased staff. So that area has been well used. And if anyone hasn't been up there, I encourage them to go look. But that was biggest thing is the EOC up there, which is also a 10 or 12 person board table up there. So, and like I say, I agree with moving forward. I guess with consensus on this, and the resolution wouldn't be required until the tender price comes in for approval on spending the money. But I think it's just consensus now to move forward, get a price, get a tender, and like I say, have it back for us in a month.
Okay, thank you, Lori. Matthew.
Yeah, just like Lori said, the upstairs for the EOC and whatever else. I mean, that's got nothing to do with council. So that space is completely utilized for other people. It's got nothing to do with council chambers or board meetings or whatever. It's full. So, and Daryl hit the nail on the head. Like that quote, if we're budgeting that, it's going to be another $30,000. Like we're not going to renovate that whole room and not put a brand new suspended ceiling in there, right? Half those ceilings are waterlogged already. They're sagging all over the place. You're going to spend $5,000 in a suspended ceiling. Then when you paint that thing, you got to take all those fancy pink blinds we got out of there, and you're going to spend another $5,000 on drapes and blinds and covering all the windows. It goes on and on and on. Like there's a lot of things maybe we've missed, but you could spend $10,000 in speakers just to fill an audio room. So I just don't want to spend $100,000 to put lipstick on a pig. And then in 3 years from now, we're going to say, well, we need to upgrade the desks, the chairs, the blinds. If you're going to rip that room apart, everything's got to be done at one shot and do it properly. Like don't Mickey Mouse around. But the numbers seem really high. So again, if council wants to move forward, I'll support that. But I think we really need to finagle those numbers and work hard to get some good prices and deals and get some good workmanship in there. And if we're going to do it properly. So that's my thought.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Pohl.
Yeah, maybe Lisa, can you correct me if I'm wrong, but this is a high level estimate right now, and then we want to send it out for tender with detailed information. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So I guess that gives me a lot more comfort to understand that, we just did a high level estimate for now. And likely based on the estimates that I've seen in the past from administration over the past year, they've all kind of come in my mind, a little bit high on the estimate, and then they come in under budget. So that's just what I've seen. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. I do believe we have consensus to put on an RFP for cost. I think we can safely say, let's get a request for proposal and get us some more accurate numbers so we can move forward with this project. Councillor Hunt, you want to close it off?
Yeah, the only thing I ask for is we get it done within the month so we can decide and bring it to council in August. Because then, as we know, there's restrictions and windows that we cannot approve certain items. So in August, we still can. So I think if we get this done for August, that gives 30 days to get some prices in here. And it's not a lot of, and let's ask for some extras. If you see anything in there that we think we might need, let's get those prices. We can always say yes or no to the degree, can it be done after? Is it, but like I say, let's do some a la carte prices. So, and compare, to do it properly. Like Councillor Price says, there's different kinds of things you can put in and better things. And let's do that as the a la carte. So.
Okay, Madam Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Chair, there is a resolution attached to this. One of the things that it authorizes the purchasing of furnishings and equipment required to support the new design not to exceed 27,000. So is that 27,000 over and above Plan B's cost of 87,000? Perhaps Lisa can answer.
Yeah, the 27,000 was for some of the furniture because we knew that regardless of which plan would be picked, that, we would require gallery chairs, we would require the council table and the other furnitures, as well as the video, that we would be requiring the monitors and stuff like that. I think so that's where the 27,000 value came in. I do agree. I think that number, and I'm not a audio video person at all, but we will have to relook at that and make sure that it's not only including the new monitors, but that we're making sure that all of the audio and video issues are being addressed, and that we'll have to double check on that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, because COVID, we started using this, but when it came to meet in person at council, I remember DJ saying, well, they were going to test, we've not hardly used this new equipment. And that's why I question, is there not warranty on it? It's like, we just had this updated within the last, year and a half, max 2 years, and it's not working.
I think as Lisa had stated, had to do with the monitors and the stuff, the equipment itself, the cameras and all that will be used. It's some of the monitoring equipment or that thing that stands in the corner that and the screens that's going to cost us that we haven't replaced. So what we have replaced so far largely is going to be used in this renovation, whether it's A or B.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have a resolution. Whereas council has reviewed the concept floor plans for the renovation and redesign of council chambers and is in favor of the plan for updating and extending the room. Now therefore be resolved that council of the Rural Municipality of St. Andrews authorize the issuing of a tender for the construction work required for the renovation and updating of the council chambers as presented, and further authorizes the purchasing of furnishings and equipment required to support the new design at a cost not to exceed $27,000 and costs related to any professional fees. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Pohl, second by Councillor Hunt. Any discussion? Councillor Hunt?
Just, can we put in there that we try to have the prices back for August, whatever the meeting is in August is, have it back for that council meeting? So that it.
Do we want to add that into the resolution as?
I don't think we need to, but as long as it's, known by administration and we get it back to the August council meeting then. So, okay.
Okay, any further discussion? Deputy Mayor Hobie.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. I don't want to give permission to spend 30 grand on furniture until I have the big picture, the entire picture. I would like to get quotes on everything and find out what this is going to cost us, but I don't necessarily know if I agree to, let's go and spend $27,000 on furniture. I'd like to get a whole package idea of what we're dealing with. And then, as Councillor Hunt said, like, you can a la carte it if you want, or maybe we'll get a proposal that'll be an all-in-one or something, but I don't know if I'm necessarily comfortable saying, yeah, go ahead and spend 27,000 if we get the tenders for plan A or B and we don't like any of them, then we've gone and spent, like, I just want it done like with a little more precision and know exactly what I'm dealing with. So I'm all good to send out tenders. I don't know if I'm all good to approve 27,000 on furniture at this point.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Yes, again, don't get me wrong. I know it needs updating. We're updating an old building. That's what we're doing. But I just, again, with 11.6, the addition on this gravel supply, it's called on our agenda. I just have real concerns at this point, supporting this application at any point whatsoever.
Any further discussion? Colleen? Oh, sorry, Lisa.
Hi, I just wanted to make one comment. The reason that the furniture, it is not all just going to the store and picking furniture. A lot of it, including the council, the U-shaped council table is, and the podium, that it's accessible and regular podium height. Those are custom pieces, and some of the other desks as well will be take time to build. So the reason we were going to do this now is we knew that it would be needed for either room style, and that we would have to get them started shortly to have a realistic delivery time before, to finish off the council chambers before, the election.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. Madam Mayor.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for telling us, Lisa. Where were you looking at getting these built? Because by the pictures, it looks like they're already, you would just go order them and buy them. Where were you looking at having them built?
Randy has been taking this on. He has approached a couple of custom builders. It looks like the most feasible right now is with one of the local colonies.
Okay, thank you.
Anything further? Hearing and seeing none. Council Breitchen.
What are we doing with all the old stuff?
Auction sale.
Yeah, great.
Somebody can buy it. Okay, anything else? Hearing and seeing none. All in favor? Those opposed? That is carried. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you, Lisa. We'll go back to the top of the order here now, and then you are going to be done for today. Bylaws and policy. Policy number ADM 12, social media and communications. Oh, we missed the minutes. We're going to go one further. Adoption of the minutes, draft June 28th, 2022. Council meeting minutes. Resolve that council adopt the June 28th, 2022 council meeting minutes as presented or amended. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Pohl, seconder. Councillor Hunt seconds. Any errors or omissions? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Okay, draft July 8th, 2022 special council meeting minutes. Resolve the council adopt the July 8th, 2022 special council meeting minutes as presented. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Pohl, seconded by Councillor Garvey. Any errors or omissions? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Bylaws and policies. Policy number ADM 12, social media and communication. Resolve that council adopt policy ADM 12, social media and communications as presented. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Pohl, seconder. Councillor Hunt seconds. Any discussion? Deputy Mayor Hobie.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the changes that we talked about at the last meeting, but I still have a couple more comments. On page 2, under conduct, the third one down. Publicly correct any information in a timely manner has been communicated and found to be an error using the same platform it was produced in. I don't know. So under conduct, it says anyone posting information on behalf of the municipality will conduct themselves in a professional and ethical manner and must adhere to the following: publicly correct any information in a timely manner that has been communicated or found to be an error using the same platform. Well, if it's the RM that's doing it and they're doing the platform, I don't understand why we would need to publicly correct. Wouldn't the information we'd be putting on that platform be already correct? So that one kind of confused me. So that was one. The other one is under compliance 6.0. In cases of policy violation, the CAO or designate has the authority to investigate any breach and determine the appropriate disciplinary action. I think we need to be very careful there, because as we all know, and if some of you don't know, then I will tell you that I think it's fairly easy, quite simple, to go online and pretend to be somebody you're not. And somebody could potentially say something that we think is somebody in this room, for instance, and the CAO would want to investigate and talk about disciplinary action. You would be hard pressed to prove the person unless you legitimately know it's that person's account. So if it's their personal Facebook page, for instance, but if it's not their personal page and it's Facebook account or something, it could be a fake account. So I think we need to be very careful with talking about disciplining somebody unless you can prove that person is indeed somebody who would be part of the RM, whether it be a council member or administration or whatever. So I just wanted to point out those couple of things that I think we need to be very careful there. And I don't think we really need under conduct number 3, because it would be our own administration that would be putting that in there. So having them to publicly correct an information, I didn't quite understand that. But the bigger one is we need to be very careful with that compliance, because you would be hard pressed to prove somebody is who they are unless you knew for sure. Just saying.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Paul and then Madam Mayor.
Yes, thank you. So in regards to discipline, I'm sure that our administrative team is going to do the appropriate investigations to do with that stuff so they don't go through unintentional harm for anyone. And as for publicly correcting any information, I think that's a good point, Councillor Hobie, but I think that's kind of the exact same thing that the papers identify. So if they have an error in their article, they publicly admit their error in the same fashion. So I would say that, yes, I would assume everybody's going to try to get things out correctly, but we'd be lying to ourselves if mistakes aren't going to happen eventually. So I think that's a good add-in to tell people that we're going to publicly correct it the same way we posted it. And is there maybe there's something we need to add into this policy? I just thought about this today. Should we be adding in rules for public consumption of official videos or official minutes? For example, there's a few sites out there that very much love to splice and add together videos and put in combine 2 videos or 2 different pictures, which portrays a very negative light to the municipality. And in an effort to try to create positivity within the municipality, the council, as well as administration and for the residents, I would suggest we add rules into this document that identify exactly how these videos, pictures, and documents produced by the municipality are to be used in the public. That would be my comment. I think that's a very important piece to this that I think we're kind of missing. That's all I have for comments.
Okay, thank you. Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I have a couple points, but just to Councillor Polls right now, videos being posted. I think like provincial and federal governments, we've seen James Bazan, they post their actual meetings. So is Councillor Poll referring to our council meetings? Because that's all we would have videos on.
Correct. Yeah, I'm talking about council meeting videos, or if in the future, let's say we record our strategic planning sessions or anything community related, something that is put through and recorded from the municipality itself and posted to our website, that if it's there, it's got rules for consumption for the public. So it's open to the public to use. But for example, let's say a rule would be if somebody wants to use a piece of a video, you have to use a minimum 30-second piece of the video, and it has to be uninterrupted without any additional items overlaid over top or something. You know, you can put rules together of that kind of scenario. So this way, there's a lot of times when videos get posted online, regardless, it doesn't matter where it is or for which organization or people, and they get taken out of context very frequently by somebody pulling in 5 seconds of a video. And then if they had looked at the previous 15 seconds or a total of 1 minute or 30 seconds, it's a completely different story laid out in the video. So I would suggest that we add in some sort of rules like that and not pass this policy today, but amend it and get some thought around what those rules need to be, and then bring it back to council in August. So this way we can really get through that and have a value added portion to here to really help us with the public communications.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Paul. Deputy Mayor.
Okay. I just had that.
Sorry, Kristen, let Joy finish.
I don't know, Colleen's making notes. For number 1.0 under purpose, where it's highlighted in yellow, it says, and it says, and to ensure that the RM's code of conduct policies are adhered to in relation to public comments made on external social media platforms. But I thought, because you know, I don't understand this Facebook, and I think that's what the whole basis of this is. I thought we were making this site, Councillor Pritchett brought it up the last time. I thought we were making this for Facebook, but there would be no comments by people, by the public.
Colleen says that is correct.
Okay, so why in relation to public comments made on external social media platforms? What does that have to do with this policy then? Because on number 3, scope, you have in yellow out crossed out. This policy applies to members of the public who use, comment, or post on municipal social media sites and social networks. You've got that X'd out. So I don't think those words on external social media platforms applies to this policy.
Okay. Colleen is looking at it.
Okay, and also under social media account, I know I asked DJ at the last meeting, who the CAO or designate is responsible for assigning the role of social media account administrator and alternate. Is Colleen, are you aware who's the staff person taking this over?
Currently, it would be Sherry.
Okay, thank you. And then on page 2, okay, 4.2, purpose and use. The last bullet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 5th bullet point says it's highlighted where municipal website for the purpose of downloading forms, documents, submitting inquiries, and providing specific or additional information. I think I would ask that be removed because we already have service tracker. You're just going to cause more work for staff if people are going to be submitting inquiries on Facebook.
Sure.
And I think, and then the other one, oh, the last page, Schedule A, where the Schedule A, sample resolution for council members about breach of code of conduct, that's going to be left up to the CAO. This would, the CAO is not an adjudicator. This would be dealt with, this would be against Bill 2, our code of conduct bylaw, because it has to go to an adjudicator. Not the CAO shouldn't be responsible for censuring a member of council. So I think Schedule A has to be relooked at too, please.
Hey, Councillor Paul, you had an answer for one of Madam Mayor's questions?
I have, I guess, a different interpretation. For 4.2 bullet 5, where Sue was talking about submitting inquiries. I think what that bullet revolves around is specifically talking to links. So if you're linking to any documents and any commentary, any responses, any inquiries, whatever that may be, you link directly to the municipal website where the documents are housed. So not linking to external websites or people's personal social media sites or things like that, because those links can be broken. If those different pages get deleted, those links disappear. This ensures for longevity of that link to be there. I have a lot of experience dealing with my day job to do with links, and if you you move a document or you change something, it breaks that link for the future and you can't access that information. So I think what they're trying to do here, and I completely agree with, would be to refer back to documents on the municipal website through links wherever possible. And they tried to outline the situations that would occur in, because then you won't have those broken links, and those links will always work and be able to get you to those documents. That's my interpretation.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that, Councillor Paul. Deputy Mayor Hobie.
So I just want to make sure Mayor Sewell's questions were answered, because I think she had one that Colleen was still looking at, right? Are we okay? Are we good? Can I? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So a couple questions. Councillor Pohl talked about the videos. And I do agree. We need to be careful. So two things. While I agree with what he says, because people can cut and paste, and it happens every day in the real world, on all levels of government and life in general. But we also have to be very careful that we don't dictate a freedom of speech. However, I understand what Councillor Pohl is saying, and I do believe there has to be some, guidance for the general public with respect to videos, so that there isn't a situation where we have a cut and paste. So his, 30 seconds or something like that, he's right. We should probably talk more about this and look into this a little more before we determine this as to be the factor. The first one too, the purpose. I've read this like 3 or 4 times. So it is to ensure that the RM's code of conduct policies are adhered to in relation to public comments made on an external social media platform. So I'm not quite sure where we're going with that, because I don't think we can dictate what people say on external social medias that are outside of the scope of the RM Facebook, the RM website, the RM Insta. If people are making public comments on, meanwhile in Selkirk or something, we don't have the right, unless it's illegal. I don't think we have the right to, I don't know how you would anyways, adjust those public comments if they're on an external social media platform. So, and if it's not considering that, if you're only talking about our own, well, we're not going to have public comments anyway. So I think the first one needs to be redone entirely, because if we're only talking about our social media sites, well, we're not allowing public comments anyways. If we're talking about other social media sites, I think that's a slippery slope, and we need to be very careful not to adhere what we feel our rules are to the public free speech.
Okay, you know what? I think we've got a lot of changes to be made here. We're going to have to table this, and I think there's probably comments. Council is not agreeing with this, and we need to make those changes so everything works right. So I think what we should do is we should probably table this. Colleen has been diligently taking notes over here, and I think she's going to probably ask Deputy Mayor Hobie, you and Councillor Pohl and Madam Mayor for clarification, just to make sure that we get this right. So when we bring this forward in August, then we have all the changes that are necessary. So if the mover and the seconder are right with a friendly amendment to table this till the next meeting for further information, then we'll move on. Okay, and I have the agreement from Councillor Pohl and Councillor Hunt. We will table this for further information and bring it back at the August meeting. So, and if you do have items that you want more clarification on, please talk to Colleen and get those changed in. So when we bring it forward next time, we'll have it ready to go. Councillor Pohl.
Just quickly, might I ask administration that in pulling all this information together, maybe before the next council meeting, if I don't know, I don't want to say a survey or just a kind of rough draft gets sent out so we can kind of poke holes at it. So this way it saves some trouble of coming back to coming back to the council meeting like this and we kind of tear it all apart. I think it would give us a benefit to be able to do that before the next meeting.
Okay, great. That's a good plan. Okay, let's move. Oh, did you have your hand up, Deputy Mayor Hobie? Oh. Okay, let's move on then. Approval of accounts. Resolve that council approve the July 8th, 2022 check detail report as presented. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Poll, seconder. Councillor Garvey seconds. Any discussion? Deputy Mayor Hobie.
Yes, thank you, Tim, for answering those questions for me today. I do have a couple questions based on your answer. I had time today. Thank you. You sent it earlier today and I was able to do that this afternoon. So a couple of questions regarding, okay, well, thank you for the headache thing because that one really threw me. So that was good to know. I'm glad to see the repair is going to go through insurance because that was pretty substantial, as you all know. And so if we can be told or let us know if that's approved, that would be great because that is, like I said, pretty significant. Everything else was great. I appreciate the answers. The only one I have a question about would be the Manitoba Hydro. So my one question was the 5,000 to various public works locations. I thought we only had one building.
You have three.
Oh, there's three. Okay. And sorry, my mistake then. That is why we're having these kind of discussions, right? And Tim, is that like a flat rate average? Because I know in April and May there was significantly higher, and I know one was a recharge for a check, but is that going to be like because this one is significantly lower than April's and May's. So I'm wondering, is this kind of the norm now? Are we in the norm zone or?
Hi, it just depends on usage. Like the bills are just based on meter readings and usage. So they do vary. Winter is typically higher, absolutely, and summer is typically lower. That's a common, or I guess a routine trend.
Okay, because it was just like, that's a third of what we did in April, right? So I was like a little confused, although I know we had winter forever this year. So, okay, I think that's all I have for now. Thank you. And I thank you for sending those answers to me.
Well, Mayor.
Yes, I just want to thank Deputy Mayor Hobie for sending our questions to all. Tim, thank you for your response. I've had a hectic day. I'm going to be sending you more questions because Deputy Mayor Hobie pretty much had the same questions I had too. And it was the hydro I'm really questioning, but I'll email you this week on that. So, but thanks for your response today.
Anything further? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. Okay, we don't have any reception of delegates or petitions, correspondence for action. Stars Gala, September 8th, 2022 in Winnipeg. Who would be attending that? Madam Mayor? Councillor Poll, you're checking your, Councillor Garvey, you will be attending? I'm not sure what the 8th is. Councillor Poll?
Yeah, I'd like to be signed up for it.
Okay.
And can we maybe make?
It's a Thursday, Mr. Chair.
Sorry, what's that? Can you say that again?
It's a Thursday.
Thursday? Okay. Okay, Councillor Poll?
Can we maybe make the resolution to identify, maybe not specific counselors, just up to X amount of counselors or council members? This way, just in case somebody runs into a conflicting schedule a month from now, because this is in September, that it's not gonna, we don't have to change a resolution for it. You know what I mean? Like it just, I think would make sense, gives us some options.
Madam Mayor?
Yeah, thank you, Council Paul. No, that's not necessary. There always someone can go, or you can get the ticket, sell it to another RM for a member. Places like this need to know who's going for their guest list and for the meals. So that's why you have to pretty much say who's going, because they have name badges, everything else.
Yeah. Okay, the other question I have is that the ARM meeting in September, is that it's on the 9th? Okay, so we're good there. Okay, so Madam, sorry.
No, Mr. Chair, ARM, this is on a Thursday.
Okay.
ARM is normally Thursdays.
Yes, but it's been changed for September. It was announced at the last couple of ARM meetings.
Oh, so it's the Friday. The next one is Friday.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Hobie. Oh, you got, okay, so I guess be it resolved that Madam Mayor, Councillor Garvey, Councillor Poll, who else was attending? Well, well, put your name down and some, yeah. Okay, so be it resolved that Madam Mayor, Councillor Garvey, Councillor Poll, and Councillor Hunt be it authorized to attend Stars Gala, which is being held on September 8th, 2022 in Winnipeg. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Poll, second by Deputy Mayor Hobie. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Correspondence for information. Infrastructure Canada Active Transport Design Grant awarded. Everybody have a chance to have a look at that? We were awarded $50,000 for active trails. Any comments? I think it's great that we can continue on moving on with those trails. Councillor Poll.
Yeah, I would just like to thank administration for staying on top of the grants, because we've been seeing quite a number of grants this year coming through. And if they hadn't been doing that, we wouldn't be seeing a lot of this extra money. So it definitely offsets on the tax side. Thank you.
Good comments, Councillor Poll. Anything further? Okay, we will move on then. Public Utility Board. South St. Andrews wastewater utility extension request. It was, we asked for a request to move to December 31st, and that was approved. Any discussion? Madam Mayor?
Yes, I see the next one too for premium. You know what, this is embarrassing. Tim, do you have any idea when our audited financial statements are going to be ready? A new council is going to have a nightmare. This is stuff going on that's 2 years behind.
Okay, anything further? Tim can respond to you.
We're still in the process of waiting for those final statements for the 2020 and the 2021 audit will not finish until the 2020 audit is finished, because they're connected. So it is going to start to hold things up now if that organization does not send in a set of financial statements for us to finalize with the auditor. So that's where we're sitting right now. And the 2020 audit is on its way. It's getting started now, providing information to the auditors.
Okay, because I provided, that came up last meeting. I provided the draft statements for Amphibex last year, like 2021. And DJ had sent us an email saying that the province and the auditor agreed the draft statements could go ahead. So you've got them.
So the draft statements that you provided have been sent along to the auditor. But if we go with the draft statements, that means that there will be a qualification on our 2020 audit. And that has been discussed with the auditor, and it has been discussed with the province as well. And they will accept the qualification, but that does cause challenges. So going forward. So it's a last resort option to go with the qualification.
What is the qualification? Could you explain what does that mean?
That means that the auditors would say that our financial statements are not, there's a qualification due to the fact that they can't verify the information coming from that organization because it's only draft information. It's not an audit. An audit is a definitive number within all material respects. And that would be what the auditor would rely on to finish our audit.
Counselor,
Oh, okay, because thank you, but those, there was nothing, no action basically for 2 years. So I doubt there would be very much change in those financial statements, the drafts, because the board approved them like the drafts. So it's just a matter of waiting to get the final one. I don't think they're not changing any numbers. So 2020 is at the auditors, or you're still sending information in for that?
No, 2020 is at the auditor.
And 2021, has the auditor been to our office to look at documents, or is all that information with them too?
They have not been here yet.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Counselor Paul.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, a qualification is kind of like a black mark on our record. In this case, until it gets qualified with the finalized information.
Yeah, it can in certain circumstances be considered as a black mark on our audit. That's correct.
Okay, and the only reason I specify that is, I don't know how many times I've heard the comment of, this, it's been 2 years, a lot of back and forth about why are the financial statements not done yet? Why is this audit not done yet? Why? When the answer is consistently the same, and it's caused by an external agency. So I think if there's more questions in regards to that, I think that external agency is where those questions should be directed to. And I think Marisol would be the best person to take those questions to that agency since she's part of it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Let's move on because of Prudent Avenue Water Utility Extension Request Approval is the same. It was extended also to December 31st. All right, there's no old unfinished business, new business. Appointment of designated enforcement officer. Resolve that council appoint Chris Stanky as bylaw enforcement officer for the Arma St. Andrews. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Paul, second by Councillor Garvey. Any discussion? Madam Mayor.
I would ask the resolution, there's no resolution on our, oh, there is now. There should be a time effective date, and there should be, because our bylaw officer is away until August the 8th, but there should be an effective date and a possible end date on this resolution.
We can put an end date in if you like. What
Okay. Resolve that council appoint Chris Stanky as bylaw officer for the Arma St. Andrews until August the 8th, 2022.
Well, do we know when Mr. Kerwin is coming back for sure?
Well, that was all sent to council August 8th, or we could say, because I don't know, until August 8th, 2022. If required, could be extended or something along those lines.
Until
Because
until the return of our current bylaw officer. That would cover any date.
Well, until August 8th, thank you, that's good words. Until August 8th or upon return of the current bylaw, yeah.
Okay, Councillor Paul.
Yeah, I would suggest we change the resolution to read, resolve that council authorize Chris Steinke to provide bylaw enforcement services for the Arm of St. Andrews until the end of September. And the only reason I mentioned the end of September is depending on, even if our bylaw officer were to come back on August 8th, there may be cases that our bylaw officer needs to consult with him on. So he still needs to support us in the meantime until those cases are handed over effectively to our current bylaw officer. So I would just, and I mentioned bylaw services, not as a bylaw officer, because then it allows that opportunity for handover of that information. It doesn't mean we have to employ that person full-time or to a certain amount of hours. It can be whichever we determine, but we have that authorization to do that. That would be my recommendation.
Okay. Madam Mayor?
Yes, no, we have to appoint him as a bylaw officer so he can do bylaw enforcement. We can't say provide bylaw enforcement services. He has to be, I understand, with the last time he came with us, he's no longer Prairie Bylaw, he's a private company. So it has to read that appoint Chris Steinke as a bylaw enforcement officer.
Okay.
That wording must be in there.
Okay, who moved and seconded this resolution? Councillor Poll, did you move? Councillor Poll and Councillor Garvey, you second. Are you okay with the friendly amendment? Okay, Colin, could you read the resolution?
Thank you.
Russ, you're okay with the friendly amendment?
Depends what the friendly amendment reads as, but yes.
Okay.
Resolve that council appoint Chris Steinke as bylaw enforcement officer for the RM of St. Andrews until August 8th, 2022, or upon return of our current bylaw officer.
Okay, we're good with that. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Okay. RFD 2022 Spring Flood After Action Review Report, Capital Red River Region. Resolve that council approve the 2022 Spring Flood After Action Review Report as prepared for by the Arm of St. Andrews and authorize signing and submission to Manitoba Emergency Measures Organization. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Poll, seconded by Councillor Hunt. Any discussion?
I just want to thank Sherry. It's an absolutely excellent report.
Councillor Hunt?
One of the bullets in here pertains to the next item on the agenda, actually, where we're asking, the province needs to maintain dikes along the lake, needs to be re-armored and kept to maintain due to ongoing erosion. It's not our responsibility, but the next resolution is going to ask to increase height in some of these dikes and controls and erosion control on the lake to reflect the new normal, which we always hear of. And the province has done that several times over our area here from 2005, 2006, when the dikes were originally built, again in 2010, and again in 2011, when they did some raising of properties along Netley Creek and that. So this is going to also coincide with the next one also. So, but this is a good report, and hopefully the province takes it and reads it and accepts these recommendations and these comments.
Okay, anything further? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor? That was carried. Okay, item 11.3, shoreline protection. There's attachment, Councillor Hunt.
So this is what I just spoke about. So we have a few areas along Netley Creek and Chalet Beach. I had mentioned this last meeting too, San Souci Park and along Kernstead Road, that the levels that were done in 2005 and 2006 that carried on around lake, diking around the lake, as well as Chalet Beach was done 05 and 06, and it was done to a different height or a higher height in 2010 after the weather bomb we had that October. Now those levels aren't adequate as it's flooded in there 3 times this year. So this letter we had asked administration to write and send it to the applicable ministers. And not too sure who they will be, which ministers I guess we send to. There's probably 2 or 3 of them that could fall into their portfolio. The only thing I would ask, we take out the word consider. Province consider undertaking this effort. I'd like to see the province undertake this effort. So take out the word consider. So it would read then Lake Winnipeg and request that the province consider undertaking this effort.
Okay, so you want to just remove the word consider?
Word consider and then put undertake rather than undertaking.
Okay.
That's okay with the seconder?
All right, Madam Mayor? There's no resolution for this.
Can't hear.
Okay, Madam Mayor?
Sorry, I just have a question because on our package, it just the attachment says suggested wording for letter. I write today under the direction of so now Councillor Hunt just said it's going to whoever ministers, but I write today. Who is this letter coming from? Or Laura, Councillor Hunt, you did up this letter.
Well, from council, I guess, because this was put in by the CAO, and but it says I write today under direction of council, so it's from the CAO, or we can send it from the mayor. Either one. If you want to take direction on this, Mayor Sewell, and send it from the mayor, I'm fine with that too.
Well, it doesn't matter. I was not consulted. I knew nothing of, that's why one of my questions when I read the agenda was, who is this going to? Where did it come from? And who is it signing? Like, that's why my question is, it doesn't matter to me.
I spoke at this last council meeting, and this was the direction that council had given to administration. So this was talked about at the last council meeting. And this is a result of that discussion.
Okay, any other councillors have anything else to add? Okay, well, I think this is a good letter, but it should get to more than one minister. It should be Manitoba MTI, conservation and climate change, water stewardship. Yeah, you know, and also because the premier as well, and this also affects residents that are in Derek Johnson's riding and also Al Lajimodier. So I think all those ministers should have a copy of this. Councilor Hunt.
So I did mention, like I say, in the conversation here, the areas that we know have had problems in the past few months. But it's up to the province to look at other areas that have been diked, like I say, from 05 and 06. Then again in 2010, and again in areas around Netley Creek where there was a ring diking program that was trying to be undertaken, but it didn't pass or it didn't go with the 4 areas that we had planned. So it was houses were raised with I think it's a 14% deductible for the residents. So most residents took advantage of that program. So
I have one question for your Councillor Hunt. Do you know if in any areas in St. Clements they're experiencing the same issues?
I'm not sure. Maybe I think you know, these issues that we're having here is more from the lake or all from the lake, whereas the river, St. Clements doesn't have any homes along the river, I guess, on that side, unless it's Grand Beach area, and that I don't know about. Grand Beach, Bel Air, Victoria, those areas there. They could be experiencing some of that stuff, but I think most of those homes are fairly high, other than they may be having some erosion, bank erosion problems. But the problems we have along the lake are lower lying properties, and they have flooded, and which again, in a couple of down the line, will be some DFA. Some of the work that has been done is DFA eligible and has been put into our claim for reimbursement.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Any further comments? Seeing and hearing none, then we'll move ahead. Oh, sorry, Madam Mayor.
No, actually, Counselor Hunt, if you read the report going, we just passed that Sherry did up after the flood. A lot of this too is caused when they open the floodway. That's been ongoing ever since the floodway was put in, how it affects our RM.
Counselor Hunt.
These issues is due to the lake wind effect setup on Lake Winnipeg Basin. Every time there's a north wind, the north basin blows into the south basin, causing excessive flooding because the water at this time is at an all-time high. So each time we get a wind setup effect, it creates a bathtub effect and fills up the south basin, creating problems in Netley Creek and along the lake. So
yeah,
that's what the problem, that's the difference of the other one. The other one is solely springtime flooding.
This,
Oh, okay, thank you.
we haven't had flooding from the floodway hasn't been in operation for over a month. And these situations have been going on now in the last 3 weeks, almost every weekend when we get a north wind. Okay, let's move on. River Road speeding. Oh, no, there's no resolution. Okay, River Road speeding. Let me get this. Councillor Poll.
Thank you. So I think I've brought this to council once, if not twice in the past, to do with speeding on River Road. I think, in the past, it's difficult to determine any sort of action because we have a limited resource response from the RCMP regarding a variety of services, right? And I don't want to say it's to no fault of anyone. I think it's a resource limitation across the board for a lot of services. And one of the things, there's a reader board sign request attachment to this, which is a good report identifying a couple of different areas. I think instead of trying to, I guess, push or talk with the RCMP more, maybe let's take a little bit of a different avenue or different path, and let's look at getting some of these traffic speed signs, the ones that are solar powered that show your speed as you're driving by, because they're found to actually get people to reduce their speeds a lot of the times, regardless of what's going on. So if you read the report, what I'm trying to propose is that we kind of move forward with getting some of these signs in the commonly, I guess, I don't want to say complained about areas or roads of the municipality as a whole. Then I think that's maybe 2 or 3 different spots to start with, and then see if we get so many results out of that. Because I see a lot of these signs across a lot of different municipalities and throughout the city as well. So I just wanted to hear everyone's thoughts on that and whether or not they agree.
Yeah, I think a lot of those signs are used in construction zones. You see them all the time. I do think they have an effect on oh geez, I'm going too fast, sort of a thing like that, and they will slow down. I think it's an education process more of an enforcement, and I think that for residents, I think that's I would prefer to go this way. Anyone else want to chime in? Madam Mayor.
So Councillor Poll brought this forward because the request for decision is all about Gimli Road. With a map for Gimli Road. What's River Road got to do with this?
Can Daryl answer your query?
Madam Mayor, so I had identified this with, I emailed DJ, I think it was last week, and he had said that he already had this request for decision paper put together and he would put it onto the agenda as kind of a supporting document that some of the research has already been done for that kind of solution. So it doesn't say anything in this document about River Road, but the reason why it was put onto the agenda is because of River Road. There's been multiple times where my recommendations to residents are, if you have concerns with speeding, make sure you contact the RCMP, fill out a police report, and follow that path so it's documented. And the problem is, I keep telling residents that they keep doing that and nothing happens. So I understand there's a resourcing issue, but this would allow us to try a different avenue. And like John had said, kind of an education point. Like if anybody driven up number 9 going towards Winnipeg, you'll see in on number 9 highway there, not regarding construction, just regarding speeding around the corner. That sign is there, and 9 times out of 10, somebody driving by it slows down to the proper speed. It just helps.
Yes, but so you're aware, cops, our Southside and cops, they have a sign because that was used on number 67 between Main Street and Old McPhillips. And cops borrowed the sign for that area. But I see in this report on the attached RFD, the sign, Public Works advised the sign was gone, removed every day. So do we still have that sign, or did somebody completely steal it from the location?
We still have the sign.
Okay. And also it says, MI was contacted regarding the speed reader board. There's a wait time. Do you know how, I'm sure the wait time is quite lengthy. Or did anyone check on what the wait time is?
She didn't give me an exact date of the wait time, other than there's limited numbers and they're very, very popular. So I have no clue, to be honest, how long it would be. Could be 6 months, could be 3 months. And
Okay, thank you. Just a question, I wouldn't expect an answer to that because I'm sure the wait time is very long, yeah.
Yeah.
Councillor Prychin, did you have a comment?
Yeah, just to add to Daryl's comments, I support that 100%. And Daryl and I have brought this to council 3 or 4 times already over our term, because I too get a number of calls with River Road, whether it's the bikers or the cars. You know, you can, they're far louder than any airplane or any racetrack could ever be. The bikes and the speeds on River Road is absolutely crazy. And I think Daryl and I get a lot of those calls. And again, same thing. We phone the police to make the report. They put it into their system. Their GPS system tracks their movement. So every time they're on River Road or at certain points throughout the municipality, that car is ticked and marked so they know exactly. So every time you call the police, they say, well, we've been by there 732 times this past month, but that doesn't mean nothing, because all they have to do is pass by the checkpoint and they get a check mark. So something needs to be done on that road, and you're not going to start filling it with speed bumps and putting people on patrol there. That's not going to happen, but maybe putting up some signs. And again, education is key. So I truly support that. So thank you, Daryl.
I got a quick question for you, Councillor Pohl. That speed sign, does it keep statistics?
From my understanding, it does log the information.
Okay.
So this way, it's almost like a resource for the RCMP. You know what I mean? So if they want to access that data, they can access the data. And to me, it helps to identify whether or not, or validate some of these issues that are going on in the municipality that the RCMP don't necessarily have a ton of time to be able to monitor and deal with. It allows that to occur on its own, and then they just come and do that check. And maybe, like Matt was saying, maybe that one drive-by check is to stop and check the data and then find out, well, we got a problem, or maybe we don't have a problem. Maybe it's 1 in 50 cars or 1 in 100 cars, and it's not an issue. We don't know that, but I think based on all the police reports that have come out from just one resident alone, I think I've had, there are plenty of times for them to be able to deal with this.
No, I like to hear that it'll keep the statistics so it can be used as a resource tool. Councillor Hunt, you had something to add?
I would just like to say, I don't know how current or how that sign is. You know, I think there's better ones out there that I think have solar power. This one's probably just battery. So when the battery goes dead, it's dead. So I think we maybe need to look at a sign that can be put onto a metal pole that is vandal proof, and as well as does collect the data, because I agree, you know, if it's one person complaining, now we're going to be able to back up those statistics. And like I say, we had the issue on Gimli Road. It can go there for a few days or a weekend. Is where most of the traffic seems to be on River Road and on Gimli Road. So, but I think we have to upgrade the sign. So I think it's good for good for us to upgrade that sign to get whatever we need. That's going to be good data that we can give to RCMP or even to ourselves.
Okay, I think this is all great, great discussion. I think that we can move ahead with this way of working with traffic. Daryl, do you want to close out here?
Yeah, just to close it off, is there a way I can convince council to, I agree with Councillor Hunt on making sure we have a permanent sign with solar power that collects data to either confirm that the one that we have can do that. And two, if council can agree to having a quantity of 3 of these so they don't get moved around and get quotes. So before we go and buy anything, just get some quotes on these signs. So this way we can upgrade, because I think there was 2 locations identified in this report and River Road would be the 3rd location. So I would ask that we get quotes on that stuff so we can get an idea of where we're at and make a solid decision based on.
Okay, so we'll have to get Public Works to work on that. They know where to get these signs and they can yeah, maybe even rent them and give us the, yeah. So we'll get Public Works get that information to us, hopefully for next council, we can make a decision on it. Okay, we are at 11.6 gravel supply. Whereas the impact of high water events and inflation greatly exceeded the expectations, therefore be it resolved that an additional 200,000 be authorized to be paid out of gas tax reserve to cover these costs. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Hunt moves, seconder. Councillor Garvey seconds. Discussion. Councillor Hunt.
So a couple things on this, I guess. There's a fuel surcharge, I guess that's 20%. So, and 20% of $600,000 is $120,000. So the fuel surcharge alone is over half of the asked cost. The other asked is gravel that has gone into 2-inch into base into flooding areas, increased snow that we had in the springtime has led to roads being, you know, undrivable, some of them. The DFA claim that is in, this has probably happened 5 or 6 times, at least 3 or 4 times over my time on council here. And it's a necessary evil to do this. We don't know going into the budget. It's kind of one of the reasons I've asked for years to have, like, put $50,000 into a reserve fund for emergency use, whether it be for road or for drainage, to when these kind of conditions arise. In saying that, you know, the DFA claim, I probably will be, you know, $400,000 to $500,000 probably. That money will be coming back and goes back into reserve. If it comes back even next year, it goes into this year's budget. So it will be offset by that, and that's where, but like I say, over half the money is from increased fuel costs of a fuel surcharge. There was talk about using some of that money that we had received from the government at $130,000, but that's already been spoken for. We did consensus of council here going to Settlers Trail and McLennan on some spots that were in dire need of it, and one small patch on Boyd Road, which was again from spring conditions. So, and you see you have a copy of the budget here, and while I'm talking about it, I guess, well, I'll talk about it later. There was the fire hall upgrade, because we want to talk about that too, but we're just doing the $200,000 right now. So it's a necessity. It's in the budget, or not in the budget, but it's in the reserve, and when we get the money back from DFA, that money will go back into the reserve then to replenish that. But like I say, over half of it is fuel surcharge, and whoever predicted fuel going to diesel fuel now $2.20 a liter. And, you know, most of the cost of the gravel in the roads is crushing and hauling. So both take a lot of fuel. So that's why we need to support this, because it's has to be done, because the graveling program has already started, and we're not going to have enough to finish the graveling program.
Thank you, Councillor Hunt. Any further discussion? Madam Mayor?
Yes, thank you. Because yes, DG sent us, Rick's needs the 200,000. I fully understand. But in this email, it says it was the impact of high water events and inflation. Then it turned on our budget, it's listed for gravel. and about the reserves. But my email, like I asked if we could use the one-time per capita provincial grant. It was, I believe, around 135,000 towards to cover this 200,000. But I didn't get a response if it's been spent yet. And then I asked what our high water events not covered in our DFA. DJ replied, we are not sure what DFA money we will receive, but the roads need gravel now. And I understand if we get it, but we don't know what we're getting. How can it be? Councillor Hutchins said it will go back, but we don't know what we're getting. I never got a response if the 135,000 was used up already. And that's why I referred on these 80,000 upgrade to the chamber, because as DJ said, there's no panic to change the chamber, but no reason to wait. But on the other hand, it's less work for administration if we did not proceed on the chamber.
Hey, Madam, can we stick to
As
the
I said,
please?
as I said in my email, wasn't in favor of upgrading chamber, but there's still so many unknowns at this time with gas, with everything that's going on in the world. Our residents are suffering too. A lot of our residents are financially suffering. And I mean, we have to take, if we need gravel, then say it's for gravel. Yeah, it can go there. But that's why I was against the council chamber thing, because where's all this money going to end up coming from? Our taxpayers.
Okay. Lori, you want to give some points of clarification, please?
I believe I just did when I first spoke. I said $120,000 is for fuel surcharge. And that's a given. That's 20% fuel charge on $600,000, which is what our gravel budget is. That we have no control over. So if we spend the $600,000, that's what the extra is going to be. And I said that $135,000 that we have, we approved 2 meetings ago to spend it on Settlers, I believe it was, and McLennan, and some other seal coated roads up south that suffered through the damage, as well as a small patch on Boyd. So that's for road damage. So you can't be spending that money on $120,000 fuel surcharge. So. And as far as DFA money, it's been historical for as long as I've been on council, that when you have these historic events and these DFA claims, that's why they put a DFA claim out, because we've never not been refused a DFA claim that we have submitted. That's why they announce a program, that there is a DFA claimable program. And maybe I can ask the administration with their history of in other municipalities. It'd be different if they hadn't announced a program, but they have announced a program province-wide because of the catastrophic winter we had and the spring that we had. So it just takes time. And that's, Rick has been spending lots of time, I believe, with the adjuster and supplying bills. So it's to the stage now where these bills are being supplied. A lot of the gravel that we're going to be short has been used on washouts. The traffic gravel we use is 3/4 down. We've used 2 and 4 inch rock on some of these roads, which takes away from the dollar value of the gravel budget. Again, because we don't have a separate item, a line item for it, which I've said, asked for years to put a separate line item in the budget. So we put $50,000 a year in. So we have a year like this, we could have $200,000-300,000 in. That money comes out of that part of the budget for extraordinary. We can go through a spring and breeze through it and not even use the gravel that we budgeted for, because the spring that we had is great. But we could also have those same problems in the fall time too, with heavy rains. So, but like I say, historically DFA claims, that's why they announced the DFA program, and anything we put in, I'm sure will be accepted because it has been flood related. So.
Yeah, but that was my question. What is the amount of the DF claim we're putting in? How much are we getting on the DFA claim? We don't know.
Claim is
We
not
don't have any answers yet.
claim isn't in yet, but it's around $400,000 to this point. There's still more coming because they're still finding more issues of culverts that have been washed out and roads that have been washed out. So the DFA claim is not finished, but at this point, it's around 400,000.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you have all the information. Thank you.
Councillor Paul.
Yeah, I don't like spending money kind of ever. I'm cheap that way, but I think we all know the situation we're in, and I think we all see it day to day with the inflation and costs rising, and especially with the spring that we had. I know there was a comment about using the 120,000 from another approved budget that we had done for some road work. And I would just like to, one thing I always think about when it comes to roadworks is, we can always push off, patching of roads or line sealing or whatever we want to say on a yearly basis. But the problem is the more you push those off, the closer the date comes that you have to overhaul that road. So to me, those items are what are called preventative maintenance or strategic thinking. Let's look further down the line, save ourselves, hundreds of thousands of dollars in the future versus saving ourselves tens of thousands of dollars today. So that's kind of the way I look at that perspective. And in my mind, we kind of have to make this investment. Yes, I know that funds are tight. The good news is we've done a great job building up our reserve funds over the last 4 to 8 years. So we actually have money there for that. So good job on council and administration over the past 2 terms to do that.
Thank you, Councillor Paul. I think we were brought up to speed on that earlier in our term where there was $1 spent on mediation would save us $6 of reconstruction down the road. So it is an investment into the municipality to maintain our assets to the point where we can still use them and not have to worry down the road that we left it go too long and now we got a real problem. Is there any other discussion, questions? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor? Those opposed?
Need it. We need it.
Okay, so Madam Mayor, you are for this? Because your hand came
Well,
up.
yes, what I'm trying to say, we need this gravel.
Madam,
But
Madam,
we have to start making some cuts somewhere.
Madam-
And there's not any cuts being made.
Madam Mayor, your hand just came up late. I couldn't tell whether you were for or against, so I just want clarification.
Well, I'm in favor. We have to get the gravel.
Okay, thank you. That's all I asked. Okay, item 11.7, special meeting request. Whereas the impact of high water events and inflation generally exceed, we got wrong one, it didn't change for me. Whereas a requirement for a special meeting has arisen for the purpose of approving accounts and therefore be it resolved July, what meeting be set for the special meeting? 22nd, it's not on.
No, because I wasn't sure.
Okay,
You guys could check.
can you check our calendars for the 22nd?
That's a Friday.
Approving accounts.
If there's anything else.
Okay, so we can do as a lunch hour meeting. Okay, so I will reread it. Whereas a requirement for a special meeting has arisen for the purposes of approving accounts. And therefore be it resolved July 22nd, 2022, a lunch hour meeting be set as a special meeting. Have a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Paul, second by Councillor Garvey. Any discussion? Councillor Prychin and then Deputy Mayor Hobie.
I'm not available because we have a meeting this Friday. We had a meeting last Friday and I need a Friday afternoon. So I can't miss the third one. So I can't be there for the 22nd.
It'll be about 10 minutes long. And all we need to have is quorum. Deputy Mayor Hobie.
Okay, if it's 10 minutes, I can do it by phone, but that's it.
Yeah. Deputy Mayor Hobie.
So I just wanted to confirm, are we still good for this Friday? Because
As far as
it's
I,
not taking over for this Friday, right?
Yes, we are on for this Friday for an information session, and then the following Friday for a special meeting for approval of accounts, and
Yeah, I
that
just wasn't sure if you were switching it to the following one. Okay, thank you.
two different things. Okay, Madam Mayor?
Well, then for this Friday's meeting, we don't know if we've heard till we hear back from the RM lawyer. Correct?
We are going to assume that we are going to be there. Councillor Poll, you have some information for us?
There's nothing indicating that we will not be ready for that meeting. As far as the timeline that was agreed upon, as well as the RM lawyer, everything is set for that date. So I will be checking in with that person tomorrow again, just to make sure everything is on track. But if anything changes, I will definitely let council know.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Poll. This is just to deal with now with a special meeting for approval of accounts on the 22nd. Anything further to discuss? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Oh, our secretary has, or Colleen has missed the mover and the seconder. Councillor Poll and I think Councillor Garvey, correct? Yeah. All right. In camera, do we have anything that is, oh, go ahead, Councillor Poll.
Can I add something quickly to new business?
Sure.
I just wanted to add, and that nothing for action today. But if people can remember back, I want to say, I think it was the first year we were in office. The province had identified that they had giving the municipalities the ability to set speeds on their own roads. But we just had to put a bylaw in place to which the province provided a sample bylaw for us. We just needed to kind of insert our municipalities' names and a couple of tidbit of details. The reason why I bring that up is because I'm sure that at least 4 members on this council, if not all of them, have heard from residents already about our school zones and how it's 24/7, 365 days a year. The speed limit is 30 in those zones. Doesn't matter what time of day you drive through, it's constant. In order to change that, we need to get that bylaw on the table and pass it so we can then modify those speed areas for the school zones. I think that's a very important thing specifically to be able to have in place for this upcoming September for the schools to get back in session. But I would suggest if there's no opposition from council to give a recommendation to administration to be able to time it so we can bring that bylaw to council, be able to vote on it and introduce these speed changes for the school zones before school starts in September. Is there any opposition from council on that?
Madam Mayor.
Actually, no opposition. Daryl, I've been trying to have those speed zones done since 2015. We have a separate bylaw. We have a school speed zone bylaw. That's what has to be amended.
Councillor Hunt.
Mayor Sewell, it's only come to council once since 2014 when you became on council. And council at that time thought that school grounds are playgrounds. So that's kind of why we left them as is, because school grounds are playgrounds, but we only have a couple in the municipality. And yeah, I think it's time to change them. But that they would only come to council the one time though, and that was and at that time it was, like I say, to address there's still children playing there after hours and weekends, so that was the reason for leaving them the same. But I think times change. I think times need to change, so I agree with it.
I believe that there is two separate things here. One was the bylaw that the municipality has, but one, you're correct, Councillor Poll, it came from the provincial government allowing us, or giving us the latitude to change that by a bylaw. So I think that we should have our assistant CEO look into that bylaw, and then maybe we can bring that forward for discussion at the next council meeting. Okay.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
The provincial, that had nothing, that was supposed to have been completed in 2019, I believe, or 2017. That was just a template that the province supplied.
Okay.
And it was supposed to have been completed, yes, in 2019. All RMs had to do that. But I don't think ours was ever done.
Council Paul.
Yeah, and I agree with Mayor Sewell. The thing that I remember about that bylaw coming down from the province with that template was that even if we had a school zone bylaw, we couldn't enforce it because the province had to give us the authority. And that's what that intended bylaw was in the first year of council that we were on, is to give the province or give the municipalities the authority to set the speeds on their municipal roads. So that's what I remember from the presentation from the provincial, but I mean, I don't think that's neither here nor there at this point. I think we're all on the same page trying to get the same thing done. So if we maybe let administration go after it and bring something back to council, I think that'd be beneficial for us.
Okay, Colleen will look into it and hopefully get something for us for next meeting. Is there, on my agenda, there is nothing in camera. Do we have any in camera items?
No.
Don't see any. Okay, so that means that we were going to come to the end of our agenda. There's no in camera, so there's no resolutions from in camera. So we are ready for adjournment. Resolve that council meeting be adjourned at 8:05 PM. Can I have a mover? Councillor Paul, seconded by Councillor Garvey. All in favor? That's a wrap. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.